Dr. Park Miho was working late in his small veterinary clinic when the emergency signal burst through his communication array. The blue light filled his cramped office as a holographic figure materialized before him. The alien was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the artificial light. Her long arms moved in desperate gestures as it spoke. "Human doctor, we need help now," the creature said, its voice shaking through the universal translator. "We found hurt animal on planet surface. Very dangerous. Our doctors cannot go near it." Miho leaned forward in his chair, studying the alien's face. He could see real fear in its large, dark eyes. The creature belonged to a species he had read about in his galactic medicine textbooks. They called themselves a Kethran, and they were known across the galaxy for being excellent doctors. But they had one big problem. Their ancestors were prey animals, and they still carried that deep fear of predators in their genes. "Tell me about the injuries," Miho said calmly, reaching for his medical scanner to check the readings the alien was sending him. The Kethran doctors' for arms trembled as explained. "Big cuts on body. Blood inside, we think. Maybe broken bones, too. We found it fighting off bad people who steal babies from nests. The mother was trying to protect little ones." Miho nodded as he looked at the data streaming to his device. The vital signs were weak but stable. Whatever this creature was, it was fighting hard to stay alive. "What kind of animal are we talking about?" "We call it Shadow Fong," the alien whispered, as if saying the name too loudly might summon the beast. 3 meters long, sharp teeth like knives, claws that can cut through our ship walls, spikes on back that drip poison. When it looks at us, we cannot move. Our bodies freeze with old fear. The alien's description painted a picture of a truly terrifying predator, but something in its voice told Miho there was more to the story. In his years working with dangerous animals on Earth, he had learned that the most feared creatures were often the most misunderstood. "Where are you located?" he asked, already moving toward his equipment locker. "Medical station above Kepler 442b. Please, human doctor. If you do not come, the creature will die. We want to help, but we cannot. Our bodies will not let us." Miho could hear the shame in the alien's voice. These were skilled doctors who had dedicated their lives to healing, but their own biology was preventing them from doing their job. "I understand," he said gently. "Send me your coordinates. I can be there in 4 hours if I push my ship hard." Relief flooded the alien's features. "You will really come, even knowing how dangerous it is?" "That's what I do," Miho replied, pulling on his work jacket. "I help animals that others are afraid of." As the transmission ended, Miho quickly gathered his medical supplies. He packed extra sedatives, surgical tools, and emergency equipment. Working with unknown alien species was always risky, but he had built his reputation on treating creatures that other doctors would not touch. His ship launched into the black void of space, engines burning bright, as he pushed toward the distant medical station. During the journey, he reviewed what little information the Galactic database had on Shadowfangs. They were apex predators from a world with heavy gravity and dense forests. Most entries focused on their hunting abilities and dangerous nature. Very few mentioned their behavior or intelligence. As the medical station grew larger on his view screen, Miho felt a familiar mix of excitement and nervousness that came with each new case. He had worked with Earth's most dangerous predators, tigers, bears, venomous snakes, and learned that aggression was usually a mask for fear or pain. Perhaps this alien creature would be no different. The station was huge, built like a floating hospital with multiple levels and docking bays. As his ship connected to the airlock, Miho could see dozens of Kethran medical staff watching from the windows. Their large eyes followed his every movement as he gathered his equipment and prepared to board their station. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and 3 Kethran doctors waited for him. They kept their distance, their 4 arms held close to their bodies in what he recognized as a defensive posture. "Thank you for coming, Dr. Park," the lead doctor said, its voice still shaking with nervous energy. "I am Dr. Velketh. The creature is in Containment Bay 7. We have it in our strongest medical pod, but we dare not get close enough for proper treatment." As they walked through the station's clean white corridors, Mio noticed how all the alien staff pressed themselves against the walls when they passed. Word of the dangerous patient had spread throughout the facility, creating an atmosphere of fear that he could almost feel in the air. "Here," Dr. Velketh said, stopping before a heavy door marked with warning symbols. "The Shadow Fong is inside. We can monitor from the observation deck above, but the containment bay itself..." The alien shuddered. Miho approached the reinforced window and looked inside. What he saw took his breath away. The docking bay filled with the sound of metal connecting to metal as Dr. Lee Jaiwin's small ship attached to the massive medical station. Through the porthole, she could see dozens of alien faces watching her arrival. Their large eyes were wide with a mixture of hope and terror. The airlock opened with a soft whoosh, and 3 tall figures waited for her on the other side. Dr. Kethran stepped forward first, his blue skin pale with worry. Behind him, 2 other doctors stayed several steps back, as if ready to run at the first sign of danger. "Dr. Lee, we are grateful you came so quickly," Kethran said, his forearms moving in what she recognized as a formal greeting. "I apologize that we could not solve this problem ourselves." Jaiwin picked up her medical bag and nodded. "That's why I'm here. Where's the patient?" "This way, please," Kethran said, turning to lead her down a long corridor. As they walked, Jaiwin noticed something strange. Every alien they passed quickly moved to the sides of the hallway, pressing their backs against the walls. Some even ducked into side rooms until the group had passed. The fear was so thick in the air that she could almost taste it. "The entire station knows about our guest," Kethran explained, seeing her confused expression. "Word travels fast in a closed environment like this. Everyone is on edge." They passed through several security checkpoints, each one more heavily fortified than the last. Guards with energy weapons nodded nervously as they approached, but Jaiwin could see their hands shaking as they held their weapons. "What exactly are you so afraid of?" she asked as they reached another sealed door. Dr. Kethran stopped and turned to face her. His large dark eyes were filled with an emotion she had never seen before in a doctor, pure primal terror. "We call her Razorclaw Hunter. It comes from the deep forests of Kepler, 442b, where everything is designed to kill or be killed." He pressed a button on the wall, and a small window slid open. Jaiwin moved closer and peered through the thick glass into the containment room beyond. The creature inside was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was enormous, nearly 3 meters from nose to tail, with a body built for power and speed. Its skin was covered in scales that seemed to shift color as she watched, moving from deep black to bright silver to rich purple. Along its back, a row of sharp spines stood up like a deadly fence, each one as long as her hand. But what struck her most were its limbs, for powerful legs ended in claws that looked like they could slice through steel. Even lying on its side in the medical restraint pod, the creature looked dangerous enough to tear apart the entire station. "It has been like this for 6 hours, Kethran whispered, his voice barely audible even in the quiet corridor. "Sometimes it thrashes against the restraints. Sometimes it goes very still. But always it watches." As if hearing his words, the creature's head turned toward the window. Jaiwin found herself looking directly into a pair of golden eyes that seemed to glow with their own inner light. For a moment, neither she nor the creature moved. "You see the intelligence there?" Kethran asked, his voice shaking. "That is what makes it so terrifying. This is not a mindless beast. It thinks. It plans. It remembers." The creature's sides rose and fell with each breath, and Jaiwin could see patterns of light moving under its scales. The bioluminescent markings pulsed in an irregular rhythm that seemed to match its heartbeat. "Our scanners show massive internal damage," Dr. Kethran continued. "Broken bones, torn muscles, bleeding inside the body cavity. It should be unconscious or dead by now, but it fights to stay awake. It fights everything we try to do to help." "What happened to it?" Jaiwin asked, still watching the creature's breathing. "Poachers," Kethran said, his voice filled with disgust. "They were stealing eggs from nests, planning to sell the young ones to private collectors. This one was protecting its babies. It fought 12 armed hunters and killed half of them before they brought it down." Jaiwin nodded, understanding now why the creature was here. A parent protecting its children would fight until its last breath. She had seen the same fierce determination in earth animals. Tigers defending cubs, elephant protecting calves. Our best doctors have tried to approach it, Kethran continued. But every time we get close, our bodies betray us. The fear response is too strong. We freeze, we shake, we cannot think clearly. Our ancestors spent millions of years running from creatures like this. That programming is still in our genes. 2 more doctors joined them at the observation window. They stood as far back as possible while still being able to see inside the containment bay. "It's magnificent," one of them whispered, "and terrifying. How can something be so beautiful and so deadly at the same time?" Jaiwin studied the creature more carefully now, looking past the obvious weapons. The claws, the spines, the powerful muscles. She watched how it positioned itself in the medical pod, how its golden eyes tracked movement outside the window, how the light patterns under its scales changed when it sensed their presence. "I need to get closer," she said finally. The alien stepped back in alarm. "Dr. Lee, that would be suicide," Kethran said. "The containment field is the only thing keeping it from escaping. If you enter that room, then I'll find out what kind of patient I'm really dealing with," Jaiwin replied, reaching for the door controls. Dr. Cho Minji stood at the observation window, watching the massive creature in the containment bay below. Around her, 6 alien doctors huddled together like frightened children, their blue skin pale with terror. But Minji saw something completely different when she looked at the beast they called a Deathmaw Stalker. "Look at its position," she said softly, pointing to the reinforced glass. "See how it's lying? Its big head is tucked down toward its left side, not raised up to attack. And look at its tail. It's curled up under its body, not stretched out ready to strike." Dr. Zekdan, the lead physician, shook his head rapidly. "But it is a killer. Look at those teeth, those claws. When we tried to enter earlier, it showed us its fangs and made terrible sounds." Minji smiled gently. She had heard the same fears from pet owners back on Earth when their dogs or cats were injured and scared. "Watch its breathing pattern," she continued, studying the rise and fall of the creature's massive chest. "See how it's taking short, quick breaths? And notice how the left side barely moves at all." The aliens leaned closer to the window, following her gaze. The creature was indeed breathing strangely, favoring one side of its body. "That tells me it has broken ribs on the left side," Minji explained. "Each breath hurts, so it's trying to breathe without moving those damaged bones. And look at its front right leg. See how it keeps it lifted slightly off the ground?" Dr. Zekdan's large eyes grew even wider. "We thought it was preparing to slash at us with that claw." "No," Minji said patiently. "It's protecting a broken or sprained limb. Animals do this instinctively. They keep injured body parts elevated to reduce pain and swelling. This is basic veterinary medicine." She moved closer to the window, and the creature's golden eyes immediately locked onto her face. The other doctors gasped and stepped back, but Minji remained calm. Instead of the mindless rage they had described, she saw something entirely different in those intelligent eyes. "You're scared, aren't you, big one?" she whispered to Glass. "Far from home, surrounded by strangers, and everything hurts." The creature's bioluminescent patterns pulsed faster as it watched her, but Minji recognized the rhythm. It wasn't the aggressive flashing of a predator ready to attack. It was the rapid heartbeat pattern of an animal in distress. "But the sounds it makes," another alien doctor protested. "The terrible roaring when we approach. Surely that is a threat display." Minji turned back to the group of terrified medics. "Tell me, when you're in pain and afraid, do you whisper quietly? Or do you cry out loudly?" The aliens looked at each other, understanding beginning to dawn in their expressions. "The creature is calling for help in the only way it knows how," Minji continued. "Think about it. It was protecting its babies when the poachers attacked. It fought to defend its family, got badly hurt, and now finds itself trapped in a strange place with unknown beings. Of course it's making noise. It's frightened and in pain." Dr. Zekdan's arms trembled as he processed this information. You really believe it's not trying to kill us? I know it's not, Minji said firmly. Every behavior you described, the defensive posturing, the vocalizations, even the way it's positioning its body, these are classic signs of a scared, injured animal, not an aggressive predator. She pulled out her medical scanner and pointed it toward the containment bay. The readings confirmed what she suspected. Look at these stress hormone levels. They're through the roof. This creature is absolutely terrified. Its heart rate is elevated. Its cortisol levels are extreme, and its brain activity shows all the patterns of an animal in severe distress. The alien doctors studied the readings with growing amazement. Their own advanced scanners had detected the same chemical signatures, but their fear had prevented them from interpreting the data correctly. But surely you cannot mean to enter containment bay, Dr. Zekton said, his voice barely above a whisper. Even if you are correct about its emotional state, it is still incredibly dangerous. Those claws, those teeth, they could kill you in seconds. Minji checked the locks on her medical kit and adjusted her equipment belt. Yes, it's dangerous. But so was the tiger I treated last month, and the injured bear I helped a month before that. The key is understanding that the danger comes from fear, not malice. She walked toward the containment bay door, causing all 6 alien doctors to scramble backward in panic. Dr. Cho, please reconsider, Dr. Zekton called out desperately. If you are wrong, if it attacks you, we will not be able to help. Our fear response will paralyze us. Minji paused at the door controls and looked back at the group of terrified medical professionals. I understand your fear. Your species evolved as prey animals, and those instincts are still strong. But humans evolved differently. We learned to read predator behavior, not just to run from them, but to understand them. She placed her hand on the door release. Sometimes the most dangerous-looking creatures are actually the most frightened. This one has been hurt while defending its children. It deserves our help, not our fear. The containment bay door began to slide open with a soft mechanical hum. Inside, the massive creature lifted its great head and fixed its golden eyes on the opening doorway. The heavy door slid open with a soft whoosh, and Dr. Kim Soo-min stepped into containment bay. The air inside was thick and warm, filled with the smell of antiseptic and something wild that reminded her of deep forests. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, the massive creature's head whipped around to face her. The Shadow's Pine beast was even more impressive up close. Its scales seemed to ripple like water, shifting from deep black to silver as patterns of light moved beneath its skin. The row of deadly spines along its back rose higher, creating a fence of razor-sharp points. A deep, rumbling sound filled the small room, not quite a growl, not quite a moan. "Hello there, beautiful one," Soo-min said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. She kept her eyes focused on a spot just above the creature's head, avoiding direct eye contact that might be seen as a challenge. "I know you're hurting. I'm here to help." Through the observation window above, she could hear the alien doctors talking in panic whispers. Their blue faces were pressed against the glass, watching her every move with a mixture of horror and fascination. The creature tried to lift its massive body, but pain shot through its injured ribs, and it collapsed back onto the medical platform with a sound that was almost like a whimper. The bioluminescent patterns under its scales pulsed faster, and Soo-min could see tears forming in its golden eyes. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured, taking a small step forward. "It hurts so much, doesn't it? You just want to go home to your babies." The beast's great head turned to follow her movement, but there was no aggression in its gaze now, only pain, fear, and something that looked almost like hope. Its breathing was labored, each rise and fall of its chest clearly causing agony. Soo-min moved with the patience she had learned from years of working with frightened animals. One step, then a pause. Another step, then wait. She kept her hands visible at all times, moving them slowly and predictably. When the creature shifted to track her progress, she would stop completely until it relaxed again. "That's right," she said, now close enough to see the individual scales that made up the creature's magnificent hide. "You're being so brave. Such a good patient." She could see the extent of its injuries clearly now. Deep gashes along its left side, where the poacher's weapons had found their mark. Swelling around the right foreleg that suggested a bad fracture. The way it held its chest told her that several ribs were broken, possibly puncturing internal organs. The creature watched as she slowly reached into her medical bag. Its golden eyes tracked every movement of her hands, but it didn't try to strike or flee. There was an intelligence there that she found remarkable. It seemed to understand that she was trying to help. "This is going to sting for just a moment," Sumin warned gently as she pulled out the sedative injector. "But then the pain will start to go away." The beast tensed as she moved closer with the device, its spines rising higher in an automatic defensive response. But Sumin continued speaking in her calm, soothing voice, and gradually the creature relaxed again. "You've been so strong," she whispered, placing her free hand gently on the creature's massive shoulder. Its skin was warm and surprisingly soft between the scales. "Fighting to protect your little ones, staying alive despite all this pain. You're incredible." With practiced precision, she pressed the injector against the creature's shoulder and triggered the dose. The beast jerked slightly at the sensation, but didn't try to bite or claw at her. Instead, it made a sound that was almost like a sigh. Above them, Dr. Zekden's voice came through the intercom, filled with amazement. "How is this possible? The creature should be trying to kill you." "She knows I'm here to help," Sumin replied softly, watching as the sedative began to take effect. The creature's eyelids were growing heavy, and the frantic pulsing of its bioluminescent patterns was slowing to a more peaceful rhythm. As the powerful medicine worked through its system, the beast's great head lowered until it was resting on the platform. Its breathing became deeper and more regular. The constant tension in its muscles began to fade away. "There we go," Sumin murmured, beginning her physical examination now that the creature was calm. Her hands moved gently over its injured body, feeling for broken bones and internal damage. "Let's see what those bad people did to you." The scan results appeared on the medical display mounted on the wall. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding in the abdominal cavity, a compound fracture of the right foreleg, and severe muscle tears throughout the left side of the body. Serious injuries, but all treatable with proper medical care. "Surgical Bay 2 is ready, Dr. Kim," came Dr. Zekden's voice through the intercom. His tone had changed completely from terror to professional respect. Sumin looked down at the now sleeping creature, its massive form finally at peace. The bioluminescent patterns had settled into a slow, steady pulse that reminded her of a sleeping child's breathing. "Transfer her carefully," she called up to the observation deck. "This mother is going home to her babies." The morning light filtered through the recovery bay windows as Dr. Yoon Jae-hai checked her patient's vital signs for the 3rd time that hour. For days had passed since the surgery, and the massive creature was finally showing real signs of improvement. The razor claw's breathing was deep and regular now, no longer the shallow, painful gasps that had worried her so much. She sat in a comfortable chair beside the medical bed, watching the gentle rise and fall of the creature's chest. The bioluminescent patterns under its scales had changed completely from the frantic, chaotic flashing she had first seen. Now they pulsed in slow, steady waves of soft blue and green light, like a calm ocean at night. Dr. Kethvan and 3 other alien doctors stood near the doorway, still keeping what they considered a safe distance. Their fear had lessened over the past few days, but old instincts died hard. They watched with fascination as Jai calmly sat just an arm's length away from the sleeping predator. "I must admit, Dr. Yoon," Kethvan said quietly, "I am still amazed by what happened in that containment bay. How did you know the creature would not harm you?" Jai smiled, her eyes never leaving her patient. "It's all about understanding the difference between real aggression and fear-based reactions. When I looked at her, I didn't see a killer. I saw a mother who had been hurt while protecting her children." The alien doctors exchanged glances. This concept was still difficult for them to grasp. Their species had spent millions of years as prey animals, and the sight of sharp teeth and claws triggered an immediate panic response that was almost impossible to overcome. But the sounds it made, another doctor said, his voice still shaky at the memory. The way it showed its fangs when we tried to approach. How could that not be a threat? "Think about it this way," Jai explained patiently. "When you're scared and in pain, do you stay quiet? Or do you make noise to try to get help or scare away what's threatening you?" She gestured toward the sleeping creature. She was doing both, calling for help and trying to look dangerous because she felt so vulnerable. As if hearing her voice, the Razorclaw's golden eyes slowly opened. For a moment, the creature looked confused, as if trying to remember where it was. Then its gaze found Jai-Hi's face, and something remarkable happened. The fear that had been so obvious before was completely gone. Instead, there was recognition and what looked almost like gratitude. "Hello, beautiful," Jai-Hi said softly. "How are you feeling today?" The creature made a soft, rumbling sound, nothing like the terrifying roars from days earlier. It tried to lift its head, and Jai-Hi was pleased to see that the movement caused much less pain than before. "The healing is going very well," she said, checking the medical readouts on the wall display. "Your ribs are mending nicely, and the internal bleeding has completely stopped. We should be able to get you home to your babies soon." At the mention of its offspring, the creature's bioluminescent patterns brightened slightly, and it made another gentle rumbling sound. Jai-Hi had learned that this was how Razorclaws expressed happiness or contentment. Dr. Kethvan stepped a little closer, though he was still clearly nervous. "Dr. Yoon, your species continues to amaze us. We have medical technology far more advanced than anything on Earth, yet we could not help this creature because of our own biological limitations. And I couldn't have saved her without your surgical equipment and medical knowledge," Jai-Hi replied. "That's what makes this so interesting. Every species has different strengths." She stood up and walked over to where the alien doctors were standing. "Humans evolved as hunters, yes, but we also learned to live alongside dangerous animals. We had developed the ability to read their behavior, to understand when they were truly threatening and when they were just scared or protecting their families. Your people kept those ancient skills even as you developed technology," Kethvan observed. "While our species moved so far from our prey animal origins that we forgot how to cope with predators entirely." "Exactly," Jai-Hi said. "But your people also developed something incredible, the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy, and a dedication to healing that surpasses any species I've ever met." She looked back at the recovering Razorclaw, then at the group of alien doctors. An idea was forming in her mind, something that could benefit both their species and many others throughout the galaxy. "I have a proposal," she said. "What if we created a joint training program? I could teach your medical staff how to read predator behavior and overcome their fear responses. In return, your doctors could share their advanced techniques with human veterinarians." The alien doctors looked at each other with growing excitement. Dr. Kethvan's large eyes were bright with interest. A cross-species veterinary exchange program. The Galactic Medical Council has been looking for ways to improve care for dangerous or difficult patients. We could help each other become better healers. Jai-Hi continued. Your people could learn to treat predator species without fear, and humans could access medical technology we've never dreamed of. 2 days later, as they prepared the transport to return the Razorclaw to its home planet, Jai-Hi watched the creature carefully. Its strength had returned almost completely, and its golden eyes were bright with intelligence and health. When the transport doors opened, revealing the green forest of Kepler, for 42B beyond, the creature made a sound of pure joy. But before leaving, it turned back to look at Jai-Hi one last time. In that moment, she understood something profound about the universe, that kindness and understanding could bridge any gap between species, no matter how different they might seem.